All right, this is immigration attorney Erin back for part 2 of the book review. Sorry I got interrupted in the last video, so I just gave you a little break. So we're gonna have a part 2. Okay, so picking up on No Human is Illegal, which is Lie 4, and Toxic Empathy of Allie Beth Stuckey's book. Okay, so we were in the section, we had left off in the section called No Nation Without Borders. One point that I wanted to say on that before moving on to the section which is called God of Order is that okay, she likens countries to families, and she makes the point on page 118 that countries are like families. So just in the way that you would not have a stranger over your house that would harm your children, or you're not going to give all of your family's food to the neighbors and neglect your own children or your own family, like, I don't know that she uses those exact words, but that's kind of like the gist of the argument. That's how a nation is, and we have to kind of take care of our own, because if we're not, we're kind of neglecting a duty to our own people, and that's a good thing to take care of ourselves. So I agree, in a sense, like a nation should take care of its people. However, asylum is for people who they're like the kids who are born into families with bad parents, like their parents aren't taking care of them, and that's why they're coming here. So the U.S. can either help by helping those parents get rehabilitated, aka like get those countries to not commit the abuses, or to have commit the abuses that are causing their people to flee, or maybe like the help strengthen their economy so the people there want to stay there, or they feel like they can have a way forward. That that's a whole nother discussion. But asylum is essentially surrogate state protection. It's someone saying, hey, my parents are not helping me, so can you help me? And that's what it is. So just as much as we want to take care of our own, I think as there's a place for families to open their doors to people, there's also a space for countries to open doors for people. And that's not, I wouldn't use that analogy as like the bedrock example or argument for why we should have asylum, but just to throw it on the other side of that analogy, families have issues, countries have issues. Sometimes countries don't take care of their people, sometimes families don't take care of their kids. Okay. So overall, like, I agree that integration is an issue, something to think about, but something that could be resolved, something that could be reinvented instead of just saying you can't come here because you're endangering our people. Okay, moving on to a God of Order. That's our next section. I believe that's the last section. Oh no, second to last section. Okay, so this section she's talking about how it starts out, some Christians who oppose stricter immigration laws argue that the Bible orders us to love the foreigner. But God's command to love the foreigner or sojourner must be understood against the backdrop of his character, namely his orderliness. And I just think it's an interesting, I'm no theologian, I will probably say that again during this video, I'm not a theologian. However, I do know that in Christianity we think of God, it says in the Bible, God is love. It doesn't say God is order. I get what she's saying, like God's a creator. If you look at nature, there's order in creation. He's not a God of chaos, like all those sorts of things. I understand the argument, but I would feel like you would understand that with the backdrop of love and not vice versa, which is what she's doing. So I don't know, it's just an interesting way of kind of framing that at the very beginning of her chapter. Also, like I said many times in the other video, it's not that love and order are mutually exclusive. You can have a loving system, a loving and orderly system. Like maybe it would be more kind. What is love? It's just a big philosophical thing, but just if we're kind of thinking about what's like a nicer way of doing things, or more compassionate way of doing things, or a more human way of doing things, there are ways that we could have a safer immigration system that's also kind to people. I don't think that those things are mutually exclusive by any means. This is just funny. I think that she just tries too hard. It's just like a little forced, her theological discussion about this, especially with using like the Hebrews or the Israelites as an example for like being a foreigner or like Mosaic law. I'm just like, do we have to go there? I feel like there's so much in the New Testament about, or just Jesus himself talking about love, talking about caring for the poor or the orphan, the widow, the stranger, all of those things, clothing the naked, feeding the hungry. So it's just interesting that she like really digs into these Old Testament passages. I don't know. I'm not going to say too much on this section just because I do think that it's a little odd. But I mean, like, I overall, like, I guess I get her point. It just feels like you could have made this point without the Bible and it would have made just as much sense. It just feels like bringing theology into it weakens the argument because it just seems like the scriptures that's using are a little bit forced. But anyways, and then let's see here. Oh yeah, okay, wait, going back before we move on, I forgot about this. I'm reading this note. So like for one example, she says like look at Nehemiah, like he rebuilt a wall, or it says let the walls of Jerusalem be rebuilt. And granted, she specifically said she's not using this as biblical text supporting building a wall at the southern border, but it's her whole like borders create order. God is a God of order, and like supporting that. And again, it just feels like why didn't she use the creation story or I don't know, just felt very odd to me. Anyways, okay, and then for her final section is where is our citizenship? Where's our citizenship? This last section here. I feel like this section really misses, I mean, like the entire chapter, but especially the section, because it's the first time that she brings up asylum, that it's a legal thing in the whole book, page 124. So like more than 20 pages into this chapter, like a couple pages to the end, she is like, oh, and asylum's real. Asylum's a thing. And it's like, yeah, it is. Why did you bring it up at the last, like almost the last page? It's so weird. But anyway, so she talks about, hold on, let me see here. So she does mention like their asylum is a thing, but it's only for very few people. But she doesn't talk about like how people seek asylum or the process of obtaining it or who's adjudicating it or what the adjudication process looks like. Where is that person while it's being adjudicated? Are they in prison or not? Like, are they in detention or not? Are they are they able to work or not? And she talks about, then secondly, it's important that these Christian critics of immigration law enforcement get specific. How many must America accept to be considered Christ-like? 10 million? A billion? More? Well, that's not the question. Like, America actually has signed onto an international treaty, the Refugee Convention, and the following protocol, blanking on the name now, but I should have written in my notes. But anyway, so they have like international obligations to accept refugees or accept asylum seekers. We actually have a great refugee program too. So it's not like, oh, we want 10 million. We want, like, theoretically, we're on the hook for all the refugees or asylum seekers that come here because of our international obligations. So you want to talk about order, you want to talk about honesty, talk about commitment. How about we think about if the United States is honoring its international obligations? How about we talk about if the United States is actually following through with its own promises? Because there is a global refugee system. There is a legal refugee system in the U.S. Asylum is a thing here. And I don't know why that this takes up like why asylum takes up such a teeny part of her book on like how empathy is misused when asylum essentially is a huge piece of where that empathy or where that humanity, like a humanitarian relief, comes into play. So why is she not thinking about, hey, how can we have, if we want to be empathetic, why don't we have the best asylum system possible where we're going to protect the most amount of people possible come to this country, and we're also going to be able to keep out as many dangerous people as possible, and here's my plan for that. Like, that would have made, I know that's totally not the point of her book, but I just wish that those were the conversations that we were having instead of these types of conversations where it's like, oh yeah, well, tough luck if you are on the wrong side of justice, and we have a border, and that's what order is. It's like this totally like flies in the face of our actual laws. And I've seen this more in some like some anti-immigration, I guess you could say, jargon, where they're saying like, oh, you're granting amnesty, or you're we just gave this to the elite. It's like, okay, we live in a globe, we live in this world where people are going to come here without permission because there are different factors that lead people to do that, like major natural disasters. It could be political upheaval. It could be personal issues with a family member who's pursuing you within your country, like domestic violence issues. Many different problems that lead people to come to the United States. Maybe just economic problems, which is also a big problem. So why aren't we thinking about how we could help these people who are coming to our shores, so to speak, coming across our border, and integrating them into this country, and spending more energy on that instead of spending energy on like quoting this one statistic incorrectly about crime, and complaining about how this hurts us, when there's so much potential with all these people. There's also potential with people coming here, and I mean, yeah, there's a lot more, many books written about like the benefits of people coming to this country, but just the way that the whole conversation is framed is so sad to me, especially with that kind of Christian spin on it. It's just, I don't know, like I kind of understand where some of her points, honestly, like the phrase, like I said in the other video, the phrase "no human is illegal" is unhelpful. I get why that's, I'm not saying like I should be abolished and we should just have an open border, no border. Like, I'm not saying that, but to everyone out there who's watching and who stayed with me this far, I would encourage you to learn more. If you care about immigration, if you care about these issues, learn more about our immigration system, learn more about the asylum system, learn more about how long are these processing times, what are happening to people while they're waiting for these adjudications, what do the adjudications look like, is there are they procedurally fair, are they is the way that people are interviewed or the way that they're questioned ways that would actually find out whether or not someone is in danger of persecution in their country? Do you think that people should, what level of persecution do you think people should be facing before they're returned to their, or before they're granted asylum and not returned to their country of origin? I think that these sorts of questions would be more helpful questions to ask. I think it's unfortunate that it has to come down to a book or a chapter like this, where it's a bit of fear mongering with the whole crime thing, even though illegal immigrants actually statistically commit less crime than U.S. born citizens. And it's fear mongering. It's using, again, this example of a woman who actually most likely deserved asylum, and the system was broken to the point where it didn't even consider her motion to reopen until after she was deported. So these are the things to think about. These are the things that irritate me, irritate immigration attorneys when we see and we feel like there's injustices being done to our clients or to people who are coming here without status. It's also just a complete misunderstanding to think that coming here for asylum is illegal. It's actually very legal to seek asylum in the United States. And the way that the Biden administration recently has put restrictions, and before this, the Trump administration has put restrictions on asylum, it goes against the international obligations that they have under these treaties, and it's harmful. It's, you know, people are still coming. I don't know, guys. I don't know. It's okay. I think I'm gonna start wrapping this up because I'm just gonna start rambling, and you don't need to hear that. But as far as the theological points go, I just want to end with reading a scripture to ponder as we think about how we want to deal with people who come here and are in a tough situation and what the policy should look like. It's Matthew 25:30 through 40. And starting with 31 through 40. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne, and all the angels will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right, and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, so to the sheep, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" Then the king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did to one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did to me." So as we consider immigration policy, I hope that we would hold in our hearts the spirit of this passage of knowing that what we do to the least of these, what we do to the people around us is unto Christ, as we're doing to Christ. And hey, I get it. It's this complicated policy situation, and I appreciate Miss Stuckey's taking a stab at it. I hope she takes another stab at it. Miss Stuckey, if you hear this, my review, wow, I'm amazed. Thank you for listening, and I really hope our viewer, your publisher, would just take another stab at it. I think if you approach this chapter again with more knowledge, with more accuracy, then there could be some potential for a much more compelling argument that might get you to some similar places where you want to go, you know, having like a safer, in a sense, immigration system. It sounds like that's what you're wanting, but doing it with a much more informed analysis and a much more compelling argument as a result. So thank you everyone for listening. I hope this was helpful. I hope you do pick up a copy of this book and and take a read. I am looking forward to reading the rest of the chapters. I just didn't get to it before this, before doing this video. And I hope you all are well and have a happy Thanksgiving. Bye.